All right, it's 7, and we're going to start our meeting like we do every Sabbath. I'll introduce why we're doing the meetings like we do. This Hebrew pattern behind Yeshua's gatherings is rooted in the Qehal assembly that meets in a bayit. A bayit is a house. From the Torah onward, Yahweh commanded that his words be taught and lived within the household, where covenant obedience is formed through daily life rather than institutional religion. Yeshua gathered people in homes to restore Israel to Torah, re-establish the lawful assembly of Yahweh, and deliver the constitution and government of the kingdom. The laws, the order, and the authority by which Yahweh reign operates on earth. These house gatherings were not informal or temporary. They were the original authorized way Yahweh forms his people. A covenant assembly in the house, governed by his word and lived out in obedience. Therefore, we are again sitting in our houses. We are learning the Torah, the ways, the government of the kingdom. Deuteronomy 6, verse 6 to 7, the constitution taught in the house. And these words which I command you shall today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. This establishes Torah instruction in the house as Yahweh's ordained method. Isaiah 33, verse 22, Yahweh's kingdom government. For Yahweh is our judge, Yahweh is our lawgiver, Yahweh is our king, he will save us. This verse defines the government of the kingdom, the judge, the judicial authority, lawgiver, the constitution, and king, executive rule. Micah 4, verse 2, the law governing the kingdom. Many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall come forth the law, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. This confirms teaching is central, walking in obedience is required, and the law, the Torah, governs the kingdom. Together, these scriptures show that Yeshua gathered people in houses to teach the Torah, the kingdom's constitution, and to establish lives under Yahweh's lawful government. Not a religious system, but a governed kingdom lived out in daily obedience to the Torah. That brings us to today's topic. The laws of clean and unclean. Sorry, I'm sharing my screen. All right, so the topic for today is the laws of clean and unclean. And just a reminder that we're not trying to teach the laws here, we're trying to teach an understanding of the laws. So I believe that when you have an understanding, it's easier to follow the law than trying to learn the law. I'm not allowed to eat pig. I'm not allowed to eat pig. I'm not allowed to, and trying to remember it in that way. But if you understand why you should not eat pork, it's easier not to. It's easier to follow the law. That's the goal of this, is to try and create an understanding. So even though we will not be learning all the laws today, we will be looking at the understanding behind the laws. I hope that makes sense. Are you ready to read, Michael?
Yes, sir.
All right, I will give you a heads up. We're starting with the foundation of clean and unclean, and why this matters. These laws reveal how Yahweh defines holiness in daily life. They explain how Israel can live near a holy God without defiling his dwelling. Holiness is about order, life, and boundaries. It is not moral perfection. Scripture itself explains the purpose. We do not supply our own reasons, make up opinions, or have our own interpretations. Primary text or Torah foundation. Please read to us, Michael, Leviticus 11, verses 44 to 45.
It says, "For I am Yahweh your Elohim. You shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and you shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any matter of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. For I am Yahweh, that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy."
So here we are receiving a clear instruction that we are not allowed to defile ourselves with certain things we eat, because we have to be holy because we're serving a holy God. So the teaching emphasizes from the text that holiness is grounded in who Yahweh is. Obedience flows from redemption, who brought you out of Egypt, and clean and unclean laws are about avoiding defilement. Um, it is not a signing of a guilt. Holiness and separation. Let's look at these topics. Please read for us Leviticus 20, verse 24 to 26.
"But I have said unto you, you shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which have separated you from other people. You shall therefore put difference between clean beast and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And you shall not make your souls abominable by beast or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean."
So here we clearly see that clean and unclean are acts of separation, not preference. Israel's holiness mirrors Yahweh's separating work. Dietary laws are explicitly tied to our identity and to our calling. Purpose of distinction. Please read for us Ezekiel 44, verse 23.
"And they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and profane, and cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean."
So distinction must be taught, not assumed. The priestly role reinforces the purpose of the Torah's categories. Clean and unclean preserve the order of sacred space. Yahweh is holy and life-giving. His people must learn distinction to dwell near him. Clean and unclean laws train Israel to recognize boundaries, avoid defilement, live consciously before Yahweh. The laws of clean and unclean are Yahweh's teaching. Is Yahweh teaching his people how holiness works in real life through order, separation, and reverence for life. Clean versus unclean. Ritual uncleanness. So we have a part that is called ritual uncleanness, and we're going to be looking at what makes your body unclean. It is an ordained thing by Yahweh for us to do, but it creates uncleanness. And we're going to look at also traditions. So for that, I want to see some things are connected to traditional facts. Let's have a look at that. Please read. Sorry, Michael, have you got access to Jubilees?
Oh yeah, of course.
Please read to us Jubilees 3, verse 8 to 9.
Yes, it says, "In the first week was Adam created in the rib, his wife, and the second week he showed her unto him. And for this reason, the commandment was given to keep in their defilement for a male 7 days and for a female twice 7 days. And after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, he brought him into the Garden of Eden to till and to keep it. But his wife they brought in on the 8th day. And after this, she entered into the Garden of Eden, sorry.
All right, this is quite interesting. And here we see after the creation of Adam and Eve, a certain amount of days pass before they are led into the Garden of Eden. Please read now for us Jubilees 3, verse 10.
And for this reason, the commandment is written on the heavenly tablets in regard to her that giveth birth. If she bears a male, she shall remain in her uncleanness 7 days, according to the first week of days. And 30 and 3 days shall she remain in the blood of her purifying. And she shall not touch any hallowed thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until she accomplishes these days, which are enjoined in the case of a male child.
All right, so here we've got Jubilees stipulating the creation of a tradition that is then explained to us in Leviticus as a law. We can see where this law comes from and is based in this tradition. Please read to us Leviticus 12, verses 1 to 5.
Go on there, brother. Sorry, I thought we were going to finish out till 14 there. So I'm a little behind.
No, don't stress.
All right. And Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of the separation of her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 3 and 30 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. But if she bear a maid child, which is a female, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, and in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days, 36 days.
Thank you. So here we see that this law is not just understanding of unclean being something like later we're going to see and what causes these things for time periods, but we see that a tradition created in the Garden of Eden here establishes the understanding behind this law. But going further, we look at how Yahweh defines clean and unclean. And why this matters. Unclean is often wrongly assumed to mean sinful. Unclean does not mean sinful. Scripture defines clean and unclean as ritual states, not moral judgments. Uncleanness relates to life, death, time, proximity to Yahweh's dwelling, not wrongdoing. These laws teach us how life must be ordered to dwell near God of life. Uncleanliness is a ritual state, not a sin. Please read for us Leviticus 11, verses 24 to 25.
And for these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the evening. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening.
Right, so what the text establishes here is uncleanliness comes through contact, not behavior. All right, it is temporary, it is until the evening, and washing restores cleanliness. No sacrifice is required. Uncleanliness is ritual, not moral. Uncleanliness and sacred space. All right. Leviticus 15, verse 31.
Thus shall ye be separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness. when they defile my tabernacle that is among them.
So uncleanliness is dangerous only in relation to sacred space. All right. The concern is defining Yahweh's dwelling, not personal guilt. Separation is protective, not punitive. Remember, when there is judgment, death will follow. Life, death, and time in Torah. Torah consistently operates with this principle. Where life, nefesh, which is the Hebrew word, has departed or is in transition, separation and time are required before approaching holiness. All right. So, what I mean is when life leaves something, there is separation and time required before you become holy again. That is, um, uh, in situations where there's death, where you are touching something that has died, when there's blood loss, when there's semen emission, and when there's childbirth, and when there's bodily decay. All right. Well, fleshly decay. Let's start with life-bearing fluids and uncleanliness. Torah treats life-bearing fluids with reverence. When life departs from life-bearing fluids, contact with a loss of life produces temporary ritual uncleanliness. All right, let's look at blood. Life, that medical definition for blood, when it exits your body, within minutes, blood outside the body, clots, coagulates, cascade activates, it loses oxygen and it's carrying oxygen carrying efficiency and accumulates metabolic waste. It dies. Blood dies. Even if some cells are technically alive, the blood is no longer physiologically functional. The blood dies when it leaves the body. All right. So that is why when you touch and something that is dead, you will be unclean to the evening. The blood died. It's outside the body. It cannot live outside the body. Please read for us Leviticus 17, verse 11.
For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that maketh an atonement for your soul.
So you always see that life is in the flesh. Life of the flesh is in the blood. So the life is in the blood. Once it exits the flesh, it dies. All right. So blood is defined as life itself. While in the body, it sustains life. Once blood leaves the body, that life is gone. Contact with that blood outside the body is contact with death, contact with departed life. I hope that makes sense. That is why you have your rituals or your uncleanly laws with different time periods of blood exiting the body. All right. The next fluid that leaves the body that causes uncleanliness is semen. We have to understand that the Hebrew word that is used in the translations is semen, but semen is only a fluid. Sperm inside the semen is the living organisms that dies. And it has the potential to live, whether it's inside the male body or inside the female body, it lives, it remains living. If it is transferred from the male body into the female body through a man knowing a woman, it still remains and can remain alive up to 7 days, 5 to 7 days, and then the body will break down that cell. Without it dying, it will absorb that cell. So it never dies within the body. But within minutes of it exiting the body, whether it exits out of the woman or exits out of the man due to the act, and there is leakage, that sperm dies, and it's a living thing that becomes a dead thing, and that is the same as touching something that is dead. That is why you are unclean until the evening. It's a short ritual approved thing, but you are touching something that is dead. That is why there is a washing and an unclean involved. Please read for us Leviticus 15, verse 16.
And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until the evening.
Please read for us Leviticus 15, verse 18.
The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening.
All right, so I'm trying to create the understanding that even though here in the translations it's saying semen, semen is a fluid that carries this life organisms, but these organisms die. This sperm dies when it exits the body, and that is what creates the uncleanliness. It's not a sin; it's just something that remains within the law or that stipulates uncleanliness. So that is why you are not permitted to have relations on a Sabbath day, because this makes you unclean for the Sabbath day, and it's a set apart day, which is a holy day. You can read about that in Jubilee 50, which gives you all the criteria of the Sabbath day. So we see that this semen is life-bearing while retained within the body, female and male. Once released and exposed, the life it carries dies. Uncleanliness comes not from the act, but from the contact with death or departed life once it's exited the body. Sexual relations are permitted and blessed, of course. The uncleanliness is a ritual only. So this is part of a ritual uncleanliness. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, please raise your hand and we can ask away if I'm not being clear.
Everything's perfectly clear to me.
All right, good. We've got different degrees of contact with death. All right. So let's look at Numbers 19, verse 11.
He that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days.
So here we see that it's different to touch a body of a human being than it is to touch the carcass, because when you're touching the carcass, or we have to do with semen, we are until the evening. But when there's human life losses, there are different time periods, 7 days of uncleanliness. If it's childbirth, we can go back to the traditions. So these are connected to traditions, and also we know that you become unclean because the blood dies. But when it comes to human beings, there is a longer separation. We see here it states 7 days. I've really tried to find the correlation or connection between the 7 days, like I did with the 40 days and 80 days with the Jubilees. But I will be sure to bring everyone up to speed when I find that that understanding. But for now, that one, we will learn it like as it is. We won't have a full understanding until we find that one. Blood or semen outside the body, depending if it's to do with the female laws of menstrual cycles, which are different, and they are bound to 7 days. There's a short separation that's usually until evening. All right. Creation. No, we've already done that. All right. Somehow I've done this twice on the.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to read that or not, so I didn't pull up the next one, brother.
No,
You
don't
want?
worry. Yeah, I see. There's sometimes it's a lot of information. And I was working on.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I said I thought you were about to make me do some serious reading there.
yeah. Well, we'll skip that. We've already done the childbirth and the jubilees. I was working also because the next one we're doing is quite interesting. It's like the Modeum, but it's a um, sacrifice laws. But yeah, that's for next weekend. All right. Then, of course, we have to talk about why bodily waste is outside the camp. Please read to us Deuteronomy 23, verse 12 to 14.
All right. You shall have a place also without the camp, whither you shall go forth abroad, and you shall have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be when you will ease yourself abroad, you shall dig therewith, and shall turn back and cover that which from thee. For Yahweh your Elohim walketh in the midst of your camp to deliver you, and to give up your enemies before you. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in you, and turn away from you.
All right. Even here, we see that bodily waste and things must be done outside the camp. You are not ritually unclean until the evening. It's not declared like that. But yeah, we have to do it outside the camp because these are things that can cause illnesses or it can cause diseases, and therefore it must be separated from where you live. Besides for the holiness and the camp being holy, because that is where Yahweh dwells. This is waste that your body is separating and doing away with. And this must be done away with in a proper manner outside of the camp. It does not have a connection um, to a time frame where you are unclean. But just to cover this, it is to also preserve you from getting sick or having diseases form. Um, and of course, decay must be kept away from sacred places. Waste obviously belongs to decay, and this preserves holiness within your camp, but it also preserves health. Why water and time restores cleanliness? Water removes contact with what has died. Water also removes and washes away decay. Time completes the transition back to the order because Yahweh tells you how long it takes. And of course, no sacrifice required because no sin has occurred. So, only thing required is washing when it is stipulated, and of course, time when it is stipulated. Clean and unclean describe ritual states, it's not moral values. Contact with life in transition or death, or life that has departed, death, requires time and cleansing before entering sacred places. These laws teach reverence for life, respect for creation order, and protection of Yahweh's dwelling or where he puts his presence. All right. Clean and unclean animals, dietary discipline and protection of life. How Yahweh regulates what his people may eat. Why this matters? The dietary laws are not arbitrary commands. They involve restriction, discipline, and protection. Yahweh limits what enters the human body for the sake of holiness and life. When we say life, we mean health and we mean preserving life. That means nothing enters that could uh, derail life. These laws combine obedience, restraint, and wisdom, including protection from harm. Yahweh establishes dietary boundaries. Please read for us Leviticus 11, verses 1 to 3.
And Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which you shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud, among the beasts that you shall eat.
That Yahweh defines what may be eaten. Eating is governed by command, not by appetite, and restriction is intentional and covenantal. Dietary restriction as righteous discipline. Please read to us Deuteronomy 8, verse 3.
And he humbled you, and suffered thee to hunger, and fed you with manna, which you knewest not, neither did the fathers know, that he might make you known that, sorry, I lost my place there.
No
Make
worries.
you know that man doeth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doeth man live.
Yahweh uses food limitation to teach dependence. Restriction is instructional, not punitive, and obedience governs nourishment. This frames dietary laws as a form of ongoing righteous restraint, similar to disciplined fasting. In the book Apocalypse of Elijah, he calls it a righteous fast, a holy fast, because you remain clean and holy if you are clean, if you remain in this fast. So this is a state of fasting, living or eating according to Torah. All right, but we have to understand that there's a reason behind Yahweh telling us not to eat the pig, for instance. All right, let's go and read Leviticus 11, verse 7 to 8.
And the swine, though he divided the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall you not eat, and their carcass shall you not touch. They are unclean to you.
The pig partially meets the criteria but fails fully. Uncleanliness is based on design and function, not taste. Touching the carcass brings ritual uncleanness, linking it to death. But what does Yahweh want to protect us here? Or want from us here? He's actually protecting us from harm. While the command itself comes from Yahweh, observation confirms its wisdom. Pigs commonly carry parasites and harmful organisms. They consume waste and decaying matter. Their flesh, especially in ancient conditions, possesses serious health risks. Even in today, it's not just in ancient conditions. The law is not merely do not eat pork. It is do not consume what brings harm into your body. Yahweh command protects human life even when the reason is not immediately visible. This shows the law is protective, not arbitrary. It's restriction, not denial. Dietary laws teach not everything is edible. Not everything edible is beneficial to you. Not everything available is permitted to be eaten, and holiness includes self-restraint for the sake of life. When you are inviting parasites into your body, you are threatening life. This aligns with Torah's consistent concern for preservation of life, separation from decay, and wisdom embodied in obedience. Let's look at the purpose of the dietary laws. Leviticus 11, verse 46 to 47.
This is the law of the beast, and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten.
The goal is distinction. The practice is restraint, and the outcome is holiness and, of course, preservation of life. The dietary laws of Torah are a form of righteous restraint and protection. Yahweh limits what enters the body to preserve holiness and guard life from harm. Obedience in eating becomes daily discipline, wisdom, and reverence for the giver of life. Unclean sea creatures. Again, as with the swines or the pigs, we have to look at the sea creatures because there's a common misunderstanding that they might not be bad for you. Or I have many arguments. So, why Torah forbids sea creatures without fins and scales? Why this matters? These laws are often dismissed as outdated or arbitrary. Torah frames these creatures as unclean, not evil. The command is rooted in holiness, wisdom, and, of course, protection of life, not punishment. The harm addressed by Torah is often long-term, subtle, and formative, not always immediate. Torah's own framing of the command. Please read for us Leviticus 11, verse 9 to 12.
These shall you eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall you eat. And all that have not fins and scales of the seas, and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. They shall even be an abomination unto you. You shall not eat of their flesh, but you shall have their carcasses an abomination.
Leviticus 11, verse 44.
There now. There we go. For I am Yahweh your Elohim, you shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and you shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
These creatures are called unclean, not evil. The command is tied to holiness and distinction. No immediate consequence is listed. Torah law often functions as a long-term wisdom, not instant cause and effect. That is why you will find a lot of people arguing with you and saying, oh, but they eat these things and nothing happens to them. It happens over long term. It does not happen instantly. The accumulation of these parasites and poisons in your body is what will eventually kill you. All right, let's look at the biological and physical harms observable in reality. While Torah does not argue from biology, reality confirms its wisdom. So that means if you start researching and you start examining, you will find these reasons are in science as well. So scavengers and bottom feeders, shrimp, crab, lobster, shellfish, clean the ocean floors. They consume waste, decay, and dead matter. They concentrate toxins present in their environment. Modern oceans are far more polluted than the ancient ones with all the chemicals that we are pouring into it. The bioaccumulation of poisons, heavy metals, mercury and arsenic, industrial chemicals and runoff, microplastic, cooking does not remove these from these animals. They are the ones taking these toxins out of the ocean waters and they put it into their bodies. They are the ocean's vacuum cleaners. Parasites and bacteria. Shellfish are amongst the leading causes of food poisoning worldwide. Vibrio bacteria, especially in oysters, can be fatal even to healthy individuals. These creatures are designed to clean filth, not to be eaten. Long-term subtle harm. Torah often guards against slow corruption, not just obvious danger. Many harms do not appear immediately. Eating these things will cause chronic inflammation, gut microbe disruption, immune system stress, and of course, increased toxic load over decades. This aligns with the Torah concern for general health, preservation of life, and order over time. Spiritual and moral dimension. Torah treats eating as more than nutrition. Eating is an act of participation and formation. Unclean sea creatures do not follow the created order of Yahweh is defined as clean. They are placed in nature as cleaners, not as uh, something that is clean to be eaten. They remove uncleanliness and take it into their bodies. When you are eating these things, you are taking that decay, that uncleanness, that poison, that toxin, that removed, that creature removed from the water. You are taking it into your body. Of course, um, uh, they represent scavenging, boundary breaking, and disorder. And of course, train the heart to treat divine boundaries as flexible. This is when we are eating things like this. The harm is not only physical, it is formative. But some people eat it and seem fine. The objection misunderstands Torah wisdom. Some people smoke and live long lives. Some ignore seatbelts and survive accidents. Torah is not written for exceptions. It is written for wisdom over generations. It's a long game. It's not a short game. The deeper question, the question is not only what harm does it cause, but why would the creator of the human body forbid it? If Yahweh designed human digestion, human immune systems, human ecosystems, and food chains, then Torah food laws functions like a manufacturer instruction, not arbitrary rules. The creator that made your body is telling you what is good for it and what is bad for it. That is just good common sense. Unclean sea creatures are forbidden not because they are evil, but because they are harmful, disorderly, and formative in the wrong direction. Torah protects the body, the community, and the heart by guarding against slow corruption and teaching trust in Yahweh's wisdom over appetite. We have to trust that Yahweh, as our Father and a Father, looks after his children. Blood laws. Life belongs to Yahweh. Yahweh's command concerning blood. Why this matter? Blood is not treated as ordinary substance in Scripture. Torah explicitly defines blood as life itself. Mishandling blood brings death-related impurity and land defilement. These laws teach reverence for life and restraint from violence. Blood defined by Scripture. Please read again for us Leviticus 17, verse 11.
For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh atonement for your soul.
Blood is identified as life. The Hebrew word nefesh. Life belongs to Yahweh. Blood is reserved for sacred purposes, and blood is not common food. Prohibition against consuming blood. Leviticus 17, verse 12 to 14, please.
Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourneth among you eat blood. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof, and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh, the blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, you shall eat the blood of, you shall What? You shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of the flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off.
So eating blood is forbidden because it's consuming life. Blood must be returned to the earth. Life is acknowledged as belonging to Yahweh, not man, and the law applies to Israelites and foreigners alike. Life is um, blood is the life of all flesh. Um, while we're here for a second, a lot of people argue and say, but you cannot eat a piece of meat like this for take steak rare because you are not allowed to consume blood because the red fluid running out of the steak is considered to be blood. We have a problem if that logic is applied because the first rule when we are slaughtering any beast to consume its meat is to hang it and let all the blood run from its body, and that will be covered in the ground or the dust. So all the blood must exit the body before we can work with the meat. When we go to any of our slaughterhouses, all these carcasses hang. They've got these channels where the blood flows. Um, so all the blood has already exited um, the meat. That is muscle fluid, and of course it will be red because the muscle is red. So the blood has already left the body. So if you feel convicted, I mean, cook your steak um, uh, more if you feel convicted. But remember this: that same fluid will just be cooked and not visible, but it's still there. It's still going to be consumed. It is not blood. Just for the logic behind that, I know that becomes an argumental point among some people. Um, all right, sorry, let's quickly see what Lucas is saying here. Once your blood exits your body, it will die. Yes, you will be unclean until the evening. Lucas, did you get that one?
I saw him give
Whenever
a
you,
thumbs up.
oh, okay. Blood and death-related impurity. When blood leaves the body, you asked the question. Um, just as we're getting there, but good question. When blood leaves the body, the life it carries departs from it. That means it dies. Contact with blood outside the body is contact with death. This places blood in the category of death-related impurity. This aligns with a broader Torah pattern. Where life is departed, separation is required before approaching holiness. You must not cut yourself open or do bloodletting when you are visiting the temple. But accidents happen in the kitchen and at home, and a husband and a wife come together. These are ritual uncleanlinesses. This falls under those ritual uncleanlinesses. Sometimes dead animal out of the way, or we have to bury a loved one. And there are even examples in scripture where people missed the Pesach because of this. And for that, the second Pesach was reinstated. For them that had to miss the first one could do it 30 days later, exactly 30 days later, they could do the second one if they missed it. And of course, um, it is ritual, meaning that these things happen. It is not a sin. It doesn't make you bad. These are ritual uncleanlinesses, but you cannot go to the temple. Bloodshed defiles the land. Please read to us Numbers 35, verse 33 to 34.
So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood is where blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed thereon, but by the blood of him that shed it. Defile not therefore the land which you shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I am Yahweh, dwell among the children of Israel.
All right, so bloodshed is not only personal, it is communal. Blood left unaddressed brings land defilement. Yahweh's dwelling amongst his people makes this serious. So whenever Israel is restored, blood must be treated, whether it is revenge on a brother or any form of blood that is being let must be in controlled environments and precisely according to the governance for the kingdom. The connection to sacrifice. Blood is not discarded casually. It is either returned to the earth or it is placed on an altar. All right. If it's allowed to be a sacrifice or it is destined to be a sacrifice, that's better wording, then that blood will go to the altar. And if it's not a sacrifice and it's in any other category, it must follow the precise rules according to the laws stipulating what to do with that blood, and it's usually to be covered with the earth. It goes into the earth. This preserves the principle: life must be acknowledged, life must not be consumed, and life must be handled according to Yahweh's commands, Yahweh's Torah, Yahweh's laws. Blood represents life, and life belongs to Yahweh. The blood laws teach restraint, reverence, and responsibility for life. Mishandling blood brings death-related impurity and defiles both people and the land, while obedience preserves holiness and life. All right, let's go and have a look at skin conditions and bodily discharges, disorder and loss of life stability. So what does that mean? Our Torah addresses skin conditions and bodily discharges. Why this matters? These laws are often misunderstood as medical diagnosis or punishment. Scripture presents them as ritual assessments. It's not always moral judgment. Not every sickness or affliction that hits you is a punishment. All right. Sometimes it carries to be a test, or sometimes it happens due to one or another reason, but it's not always a punishment. Scripture, they deal with disorder, spread, or loss of life stability, and of course, the goal is to protect sacred space and community. That is what the Torah does in these cases, as most of the time they are warning you against going to the temple. When you have one of these conditions that are clean and unclean, this is mostly to the approach of the temples. All right, let's have a look at skin conditions, the ritual assessment and not disease. Leviticus 13, verse 1 to 3.
Yahweh spoke unto Moses and Aaron, saying, when a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh, like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priest. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in the sight be deeper than the skin of the flesh, it is a plague of leprosy, and the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean.
All right, so here we see that the priest does not heal but examines the disease. All right, the concern is the status of the disease, not a cure. And of course, the issue is visibility, spread, and depth. This is a ritual determination, it is not a medical diagnosis. Why the skin matters? The skin is the boundary of the body, the place where order and disorder becomes visible, and a sign of whether life integrity is being maintained. When the boundary breaks down, disorder is present, separation is required, and restoration is anticipated. Therefore, if you have a skin problem or something that becomes visible on the skin, usually you are separated and, of course, um, done according to the scriptures by the priest. Please read for us. Let's go to the bodily discharges. And of course, a loss of life stability. Please read for us Leviticus 15, verse 2 to 3.
Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when a man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue he is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanness and his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue. It is his uncleanness.
All right, so here we see that uncleanness of a discharge. All right, so here this person is suffering from a continuous discharge. So there's not an uncleanliness till the evening. This person has got an illness or disease that is creating a discharge, and this is creating uncleanness. All right. Continuous or abnormal flow creates uncleanliness. The issue is loss of control and stability of normal function. This is not a sin, but a disorder. It's not necessarily a sin, but a disorder. Restoration is expected. There are things that they can do, go to the priest, and then if you look at these laws, there are rituals to follow to become cured from these plagues, if I can put it like that, or diseases. Connection to life and death. Bodily discharges point to life leaving the body, life not functioning as intended, or proximity to death, though not death itself. Meaning, some of these illnesses or diseases can bring you very close to losing your life. This places them in the same ritual category as blood loss, semen emission, and contact with decay, but in a difference with the separation period, and of course, a priest needs to inspect. Again, we don't have a priestly order. We don't have those things in place. So many of these things are also on pause because the conditions cannot be met to implement them. We can do only the best that's in our control and our ability to manage these things until it is restored. The best we can do for now is to create a proper understanding of what we should do when governance is restored in the kingdom and when we follow in this governance again. Restoration is central. Please read to us Leviticus 15, verse 13.
And when he hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. Sorry, it's worded a little weird in the King James.
No stress. But it's clear here we can see uncleanliness is temporary. There's washing and time to restore the order. There's no condemnation attached to this, and full reintegration is assumed after you are declared clean. Of course, protection of the community. That is why there's separation. It prevents a spread of a disorder. It preserves holiness and protects Yahweh's dwelling amongst the people. And of course, separating yourself when you are not well is an act of brotherly love, because you do not want to give a brother a problem of any sort. This reflects Torah's concern for life, order, and restoration. Skin conditions and bodily discharges are not treated as sin in Torah, but as unclean, and they follow um, certain rules. We see that the uncleanliness is temporary, of course, washing and time to restore, and they represent the visible disorder or loss of life, stability, and require temporary separation to protect sacred spaces and, of course, to protect the community. The goal is to restore, not exclude, and the process assumes a return to wholeness after um, cleanliness is achieved. All right. Land and dwelling contamination, holiness beyond the body. All right. Our Torah addresses uncleanness that affects land, dwellings, and shared spaces. Why this matters? Uncleanliness in Torah is not limited to the human body. Land and dwellings participate in holiness because Yahweh dwells amongst his people. There's disorder, decay, and death can spread if not addressed. And these laws protect the community and preserve sacred space. Yahweh dwells amongst his people. Please read for us Leviticus 26, verse 11 to 12.
And I will set my tabernacle among you, and my soul shall not abhor you. And I will walk among you, and will be your Elohim, and you shall be my people.
We all long for this at the end of the day, and I know I long for it very much, that we have a reestablished place where Yahweh can come down and walk amongst us again. But there's so much uncleanliness taking place that there's no way he can come that is holy at the moment. We will create those holy spaces again. The land is not a neutral space. Where Yahweh dwells, holiness must be maintained, and uncleanliness threatens the dwelling of Yahweh. So therefore we see that it is very, very terrible conditions for Yahweh to walk amongst his people who are spread amongst the Gentiles, who are living amongst all of these abominations being done on a daily basis. But we know with prophecy that all of this will be restored, and the clock is ticking for it to come nearer, and that is good news. Dwelling contamination, mold, and decay. Please read for us Leviticus 14, verse 34 to 37.
And when you come into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession, and he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, It seemed to me it were a plague in the house. And the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priests go into it to see the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean, and afterward the priest shall go in it to see the house. And he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house, with hollow strakes, greenish or reddish, which in the sight are lower than the wall.
All right, so here we see quite a few things, and I don't want to address that Yahweh puts a case of leprous disease in the house. I want to address that the house can become ritually unclean, whether Yahweh put a case of leprous disease in a house. The issue is spreading decay, but here is very important. The priests assess the condition, not the owner. All right. Why houses can be unclean? Houses are extensions of human life. They are the dwellings of Yahweh's representatives in his governance, in his order. Decay in a dwelling mirrors disorder in the community. So if Yahweh places or puts a decay in your house, there's a disorder that needs to be addressed and an uncleanliness that needs to be checked. Unchecked decay spreads and defiles sacred spaces. This follows the same logic as skin conditions on the body, discharges that spread, and contact with death. Escalation and removal. Leviticus 14, verse 40 to 45.
The priest shall command that they take away the stones in which the plague is, and they shall cast them into an unclean place without the city. And he shall cause the house to be scraped round about, and they shall pour out of the dust that they scrape off without the city into an unclean place. And they shall take other stones and put them in the place of those stones. And he shall take other mortar and shall plaster the house. And if the plague come again and break out in the house after that he hath taken away the stones, and after he hath scraped the house, after it is plastered, then the priest shall come and look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the house, it is a fretting leprosy in the house, and it is unclean. And he shall break down the house, the stones of it, and the timber thereof, and all the mortar of the house, and he shall carry them forth out of the city into an unclean place. Brother, can I just post one scripture in the comments? I won't say anything about it. I just something for everybody to think about.
No, you're more than welcome to. More than welcome to. If it's got to do with the topic, you're more than welcome to read it, Michael.
I just posted the wrong scripture. Ignore that, guys. Sorry. No, you know that, well, I don't want to say too much, but there's a deeper understanding to this, guys, is what I'll say too. And I just posted some scripture for y'all to think about when he said that when I bring the plague of leprosy in the house.
Yes. Well, remember the goal of this is to create understanding. So yes, it's good to read Ezekiel 14, verse 9. Everything that we are reading about here is on a deeper level. We heard the Messiah say to the people, if your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. Here we see that if a disease breaks out in the house and it's found in the stone, replace that stone or remove that stone and put another in its place. It works like that in the society of Yahweh as well. If there's someone that is being sinful or commits the act of homosexuality, remove that stone. That's the leprous stone. Remove that stone from your community. Maintain your holiness. I hope it makes sense of what I just said.
Perfect.
And of course, if it cannot be stopped, the spread, it needs to be destroyed completely. Of course, yeah, then this protects the community and the land. And this has also got a lot to do when Joshua and Israel went into Canaan. The command was given, let nothing live or exist that previously existed there. Because none of these diseases, none of these rituals, none of these uncleanliness is to remain where Israel is going to dwell. And that command may come in the future again to clean Canaan and to remove all these diseases and causes in the dwellings and in the land defilement to be removed and replaced. Land defilement beyond dwellings, Numbers 35, verse 33 to 34.
So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood. It defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Defile not therefore the land which you shall inhabit there, wherein I dwell, for I am Yahweh, dwelling among the children of Israel.
We have learned here that amongst scriptures that life belongs to Yahweh. If life belongs to Yahweh, Yahweh commands what lives and what dies. And only with the command of Yahweh to determine when a life can be taken through bloodshed, it will not defile the land, because it is done in this instruction. It is not to be done on our own accord. I hope that makes sense. The land bears consequences of human actions, and of course, Yahweh's presence makes land holiness essential. The purpose of these laws is to stop the spread of decay and disorder, to prevent holiness is in shared spaces, to protect Yahweh's dwelling amongst the people of Israel, and to value life over property. Holiness in Torah extends beyond the body to the land and the dwellings. It all functions at the end of the day is the same thing. Your body and your land all function in the same way. It has to be holy in front of Yahweh. It has to be kept holy. It has to remain obedient. Um, and all of these things, um, mold and decay and leprosy, um, or leprosy in the human body, mold and decay within the house. These things must be removed, washed away, stopped, just like we have to do in our bodies in a spiritual manner as well. Where Yahweh dwells, decay and disorder must be addressed so that life, order, and holiness are preserved within the community. And that is what clean and unclean laws are all about. It's holiness, preservation within the community. Restoration to cleanliness, return to order and life. Our Torah restores a person, a dwelling, a community from uncleanliness to cleanliness. Why this matters? Uncleanliness in Torah is never meant to be permanent. Remember, we said uncleanliness is temporary. Yahweh always provides a path back to full participation in life and worship. Restoration reinforces that uncleanliness is not punishment but temporary state. If you find that you are suffering from something, you have to find a way to cleanse yourself and restore life in a lawful manner according to Yahweh's ways. Affliction sometimes is good for us. It teaches us restraint, preservation, and of course, can bring us very close to our Creator. Restoration reinforces that uncleanliness. I've said that before. The goal of the law is life, order, and reintegration, not exclusion. All right. Yahweh never wants to get rid of it. If you're temporary unclean, you are temporarily removed. Leviticus 11, verse 24 to 25, please, Michael.
And for these you shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the evening. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening.
Yeah, it's a very important teaching logic. Uncleanliness has a defined end. Time itself is part of cleansing process, and cleanliness is expected, not optional. The role of washing, Leviticus 15, verse 13.
And when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean.
You see, this is the form of a baptism. You see how the baptism of John, washing the people to return back to obedience, different from the baptism with the Messiah, but this ritual was to clean them so that they can again return to Yahweh, or at least Yahweh's ways. You have to be holy if you're walking in his ways. Water removes contact with death and disorder. Washing marks a tradition back to life order, and water is restorative for your condition. All right. And the second one is the role of time. Time is repeatedly required because life transitions cannot be rushed. Separation allows order to be reestablished, and full cycles, evening, 7 days, marks holy completenesses. Numbers 19, verse 12, please, Michael.
He shall purify himself with it on the third day, and on the seventh day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the third day, then the seventh day he shall not be clean.
So here we understand that there are full cycles that need to be completed, and we have to adhere to those cycles. If we do not meet the criteria of those cycles, there will not be completeness in that cleansing. All right. Sacrifice when required. Not as uncleanliness requires sacrifice. Not all uncleanliness requires sacrifice, but when it does, Leviticus 14, verse 19 to 20.
And the priest shall offer the sin offering and make atonement for him that is to be cleansed from his uncleanness. And afterward he shall kill the burnt offering. I almost said unalive. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the meat offering upon the altar. And the priest shall make an atonement for him, and he shall be clean.
Yes, so here we clearly see that when there is a offering, a sin offering that needs to be made for that uncleanliness, we see that it is a sin connected to that uncleanliness, and therefore a sin offering to make atonement for him to be cleansed is required. So we have to understand that there's washing, there's time, and there's sacrifice. All involved when we come to these laws, but we have to have the understanding that these laws are to protect life. Life meaning obedience to Yahweh's Torah, preserving our health in a very good and strong condition. And of course, it applies to ourselves, our inner, as well as to our land and our dwellings. Everything that surrounds us must be clean. Therefore, we are awakening in a society that is very unclean. We are walking in stores where unclean animals are being slaughtered or sold. It is a very difficult state today to remain clean. Therefore, we have to endure as much of this as we can, and we have to separate ourselves as much as we can from normal life and the world as we know it, for us to have this type of cleanliness. And of course, then we have our ritual uncleanliness. Yahweh gives the man and woman instruction to come together and create the future generations. But through this act, there's a ritual uncleanliness. This can be done for 6 days, and until the evening, you are unclean and you have to wash yourself. And of course, if we read Jubilee 50, we see that it is not allowed on a holy, sacred, set apart day, which is our Sabbath. Therefore, just maintain that simple rule. Remain holy and clean when it is your Sabbath. Because the Sabbath is a very important day to remain clean. All right, that brings us to, oh my goodness, I see that my presentation got stuck on.
You just noticed that?
Yeah, I'm not looking at the screen.
That's okay, bro.
Well, at least, yeah, you missed all my nice pictures. I had nice pictures for every topic. Yeah, if it gets stuck, you guys must let me know.
I'll let you know next time. I'm sorry. I didn't want to disturb you and your flow there you had going.
No, I need the people to participate. Otherwise, it's just me shouting in one direction. Not the ideal. But yes, next week we are doing something interesting. It's like the Modeum. The laws of sacrifice and offerings. We read about this happening at the millennial reign, and later these things return. If they are done away with, why are the end time prophecies um, showing that they are returning? So it's very contradicting if you say that the laws are done away with, especially if you say there's no more sacrifices and offerings. These are things that will return one day. Um, but yes, for now they are paused because all the conditions must be met. You cannot just make a sacrifice, otherwise it's a sin. But yes, that's for next week. The purpose of sacrifices and offerings, and of course the laws surrounding them.
I'm very excited about it, brother. I gotta say, I don't know if anybody else feels the same, but I wanted to let you know that every single live that we've done so far has been extremely beneficial for my understanding, no matter how many times I've read over the Torah. But you bring a greater light of understanding on things and really open up my mind on more things in the Torah. So I really appreciate it and wanted to let you know that nothing you have done has been in vain, that I've learned a lot from this. So I really enjoy this and I really look forward to every time that we do it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I love the Torah. I've got a zeal for the law. I know a lot of people like the meteor substances and the prophecies, and these are all good. But within the Torah itself lies a lot of secrets, and they usually get my interest.
Hmm. That's why it says in Psalms, "Teach me the secrets of your law." Right?
Yes, that's what got me into it in the first place. Was David? I said, "What secrets is he talking about?" And I started looking for that, and I saw that um, there are different levels to understanding and wisdom. And the more time you spend on Torah, the more understanding and more wisdom is added to you. Um, so it becomes a little tricky when you like, yeah, I can speak, but speaking with people that are not walking in Torah is very difficult for me. Um, because I'm constantly reminding them of things that are and actions they are taking that are not scriptural and not correct. So people tend to avoid me, which is good. It makes it easier to create separation.
Yep, I agree. There's a lot
And
of
then,
there's a lot of powerful understanding, spiritually understanding. In Hebrews, Paul even mentioned that these things were fleshly matters, which was a parable for things to come. Um, so it's very important we understand the Torah on the physical level and on the spiritual level as well. I believe.
no, 100%, and you'll get a whole new respect for Paul. If you have a great understanding of Torah, then you will see how Peter explains this wisdom that was given to him and what he's writing about. And we know that wisdom is Torah, and he is writing about Torah. And the way he frames those words, you can see when you get that deeper understanding, you actually see how much wisdom of the Torah Paul actually had. And that is why it is so difficult for people to understand Paul. And I've seen it on so many occasions where someone just comes to the truth and they reject Paul because they have not or they do not have any understanding of the Torah yet, because they are new to it and they will need to practice it and learn of it. But if you take time to take each one of us here, if you take the time to sit and investigate your own understanding and just take a moment to look at how much you as a person have grown by focusing on the law in the past years, you will not recognize yourself from 6 years ago, because you will see that you have come so far that you do not even know the person that started this journey.
And people will witness it to you as well.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this. We have a great, great Father in heaven, and I cannot wait to be reunited in His ways, in His kingdom, in His governance. And I do pray that His kingdom comes, and I do pray that His will be done. And I always say that whatever He needs me to be done, I will do. If I need to be a hammer, then He must swing me. Um, whatever His will is. All right.
Well, I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much.
It is my pleasure. I really think there's no platform where anyone is focusing specifically on the law. That's why I think I was moved to start this, and it's grown from. Um, I know there's not a lot of people that always join. It's very difficult in the evenings, especially if people have families. But I can see on the YouTube channel, if you're going to have a look at the views there, um, it's getting the justice that needs to be done, or it needs to get out, or whatever it is. I'm doing this for Yahweh. I'm not doing it for me. Not even always sure I'm using the right English words. I'm trusting that the Google Translator did justice.
Yeah, it did fine, brother. You guys are fine with your English, by the way. I have no problem whatsoever understanding you guys whatsoever. You and
Ah,
Lucas.
I've got to be honest, Ava. Half the time I've got no idea what I'm saying in English. These words are way above. Um, my wife knows. She's usually my translator. She knows big English words. That's why when I'm speaking, when I'm not reading off my notes, I don't use um, those big words because they don't exist in my vocabulary. See, there was a big word I learned, and yeah. So I even know um, my brother Jason's English is very good, but it's because of speaking it so much. So maybe mine will get my understanding of it will get better. I can read and pronounce it, but I don't always sure if it's the right word used. Yes, I wish I could say it in Afrikaans. I always say Afrikaans just it hits different when you're explaining something or talking about something. There's a lot of feeling in our language. Um, words mean things in our language, if I could put it like that. And
Yeah, that's
it
what
carries
my wife was
passion.
saying.
It carries passion. Um, even though it sounds crude to most overseas people, I'm always getting. I was in France a couple of years ago for work, and I was standing in the street. Those years I was still smoking, and I was having a cigarette, and this woman approached me, and she started speaking to me, and apparently my voice is very deep. I don't hear it, but apparently I've got a deep voice. And she was asking me questions, and I was answering her, and she says, "Why do you speak wah 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 wah?" So that's what I sounded to her like. Whoa, 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 making a noise or something like that. I guess what's funny at the moment.
Brother Lucas, I understood you just fine. Remember what I said to you yesterday? I said, you'll be all right. You need to practice.
Yeah. But if there's no questions, then we'll call it an evening. I always enjoy seeing the faces, even if I'm not hearing everyone. I don't know if Candace is still here. But I see Vicar Bortere, I see Cindy and Sissy and Nadia and Lucas, and there's my wife. I see her picture, I don't see her name. She's with the 6 others on the screen. And you, of course, Michael and Emily and Jude from Canada, and my son-in-law, Yaku, and Lucas. Yeah. All right, that's it, everyone. Have a good evening. Have a blessed evening. All my love and greetings from house to house. I know that some of you, I don't know if they've started the live with Danny yet, but I know that that's your next destination stop. So enjoy and have fun, and see you guys next weekend.
All right, brother. Thank you. And you have a wonderful day. Happy Shabbat, everybody. Much love.
Thanks, Michael.